In the previous 2 episodes of The Legend of Cao Cao, we reviewed Cao Cao's key historical events from the beginning of his career to the unification of the North. In the second episode, the focus was on Cao Cao's process of gradually unifying the North. We saw Cao Cao welcoming Emperor Sten to Xuchang, strengthening his legitimacy. He defeated Zhang Xiu at the Battle of Yangxia, securing Xuchang. Then was the decisive battle with Lu Bu where he took control of Xuzhou. The video also mentioned that Cao Cao defeated Guisi and Zhang Xiu in succession, gaining complete control over the Huai River region. Cao Cao campaigned north against Yuan Shao and achieved victory against the odds at the Battle of Guandu, eventually eliminating Yuan Shao's forces. After that, Cao Cao pacified Nanyang, Qinzhou, Jizhou, and other places, finally completing the unification of the North. In this final episode, we will continue to focus on the key historical events of Cao Cao's titles of King and Emperor and the establishment of the Kingdom of Wei. This will be the final chapter of Cao Cao's legendary story. Please continue to follow my footsteps onto the stage of history and start the final episode of The Legend of Cao Cao. Battle of Red Cliff. In the 13th year of Jianan, a pivotal period in 208 AD, Cao Cao embarked on an ambitious project to carve out the Xuanwu Lake for the training of a naval force. By June, he had made a bold political maneuver by abolishing the positions of the Three Excellencies, an ancient establishment of high officials, and restored the office of Chancellor, appointing himself to the position in service to the Han Dynasty. With the North largely pacified under his control, Cao Cao's martial ambitions then pivoted southward. In July, his armies marched south to conquer Jingzhou, a territory held by the warlord Lu Biao. However, in August, the chessboard of war was rearranged by fate as Lu Biao succumbed to illness. His son, Lu Song, inherited the position of governor of Jingzhou, but the tide of war waited for no heir. By September, Cao Cao's formidable forces advanced to Xinye, and Lu Song, facing the overwhelming might of Cao Cao's army and deeming resistance futile, surrendered the populous Jingzhou to Cao Cao. These events marked a turning point in the power dynamics of the Three Kingdoms period, as Cao Cao not only strengthened his naval capabilities but also strategically positioned himself as a dominant force in the region by bringing Jingzhou under his fold. As the tides of war continued to ebb and flow, Liu Bei, who had sought refuge with Lu Biao after his defeat at the Battle of Guandu, was stationed at Fan City. Upon hearing of Lu Song's surrender, Liu Bei swiftly gathered his forces and retreated towards Jianling, a strategic stronghold of Jingzhou rich with military supplies. Cao Cao, ever the strategist, recognized the potential threat of Jiangling falling into Liu Bei's hands. Determined to prevent this, he personally led a contingent of 5,000 cavalry on a relentless 300 li, approximately 150 kilometers, charge from Xiangya. This swift maneuver brought them to the Changban slopes of Dang'an, where he overtook Liu Bei's retreating forces. In the ensuing confrontation, Cao Cao decisively defeated Liu Bei's army. Following this victory, Cao Cao continued his advance and captured Jiangling, thereby securing a critical location along with its considerable military resources. Following the routing of Liu Bei's forces, Cao Cao, seizing the momentum, set his sights on the complete annexation of the Jiadong region, the heartland controlled by Sun Quan. Meanwhile, the threatened factions of Sun Quan and Liu Bei, under the diplomatic efforts of strategists such as Lu Su and Zhuge Liang, formed a critical alliance against the common foe. Sun Quan appointed his commander Zhou Yu to lead an army of 30,000 troops, which combined with Liu Bei's 20,000, forged a coalition poised to counter Cao Cao's advance. With his army swelling in number, Cao Cao marched eastward from Jiangling, reaching the pivotal location of Chibi, where his forces met the Sunlu allied forces. Here, the battle did not turn in his favor, prompting Cao Cao to station his troops in Wulin, where they faced off against the Allied forces across the Yangtze River. This standoff at Wulin set the stage for what would become one of the most legendary naval battles in Chinese history, the Battle of Red Cliffs. It was here that the fate of the three kingdoms would be shaped by fire and water, strategy and alliance, laying the groundwork for the enduring epic of the Three Kingdoms era. In a masterstroke of military deception, Zhou Yu orchestrated a ruse that would become one of the most storied stratagems in the annals of warfare. He tasked his general, Huang Gai, with leading a squadron of 10 small ships, ostensibly surrendering to Cao Cao's forces. These ships were laden with kindling and doused in grease, their bows studded with sharp spikes, masquerading as vessels of defectors approaching the northern banks. When the ships were within 2 li, approximately 1 kilometer, of Cao Cao's camp, the signal was given. The ships were set ablaze, and taking advantage of the prevailing winds, they were sent hurtling into Cao Cao's fleet. The ensuing inferno wreaked havoc upon Cao Cao's navy, leading to a devastating defeat and the incineration of his ships. In the aftermath, Cao Cao led his shattered army in a hasty retreat along the Huarong Trail back to Jiangling. This withdrawal marked not just a physical defeat, but a turning point that significantly diminished his momentum and curtailed his imperial ambitions. The Battle of Red Cliffs would go down in history as a pivotal moment where the tides of fate were turned by fire, ingenuity, and the audacious will of an alliance, setting the scene for the enduring saga of divided kingdoms vying for supremacy in a land that would not see unification for many years to come. Pacify Liangzhou. After the humbling defeat at the Battle of Red Cliffs, Cao Cao recognized the need to consolidate his position and stabilize his realm from within. In the spring of the 15th year of the Jianan period, he issued an edict that has become famous as the Edict Seeking the Wise, in which he proclaimed, "In these times of unrest, the urgent need of the hour is the search for able individuals. Let those among you who are capable aid me in distinguishing the eminent from the obscure. Merit shall be the sole criterion for selection, and upon finding such individuals, I shall employ them." Through this edict, Cao Cao advanced a policy of meritocracy, signaling a significant departure from the traditional emphasis on moral conduct and lineage. His objective was clear: to attract and gather the best talents, irrespective of their background, and employ them in the service of his ambitions. In the 16th year of Jianan, corresponding to 211 CE, Cao Cao set his sights on the strategic heartland of Guangzhou. In March, he dispatched Zhong Yao, the inspector of Sili, and his seasoned general Xiahou Yuan to march against Hanzhong, ostensibly to subdue the local warlord Zhang Lu. However, this move aroused suspicion and fear among the various factions within Guangzhou itself. The regional powerhouses, most notably Ma Chao, Han Sui, and Yang Qiu, amongst others, totaling 10 separate forces, found themselves questioning Cao Cao's intentions. Their trepidation soon blossomed into outright rebellion. Reacting swiftly to this insurrection, Cao Cao sent his capable general Cao Ren to launch an attack on Guangzhou, while the rebels fortified themselves at the strategic Tong Pass. In July of the 16th year of Jianan, or 211 CE, Cao Cao personally led a large army to campaign against the combined forces of Guangzhou, resulting in a significant victory over the coalition. Ma Chao and others, facing defeat, sought peace by offering to cede territory, but Cao Cao declined their offer. In September, they tried once again to negotiate peace by proposing land cession and the hostage of their heirs, but Cao Cao, heeding the counsel of his advisor Jia Su, feigned agreement while continuing his military campaigns, defeating the armies of Han and Ma once more. The defeated Han Sui and Ma Chao fled to Liangzhou, while Yang Qiu retreated to Anding. The Chao forces executed the rebel leaders Qing Yi, Li Can, and others, effectively pacifying Guangzhou. In October, Cao Cao's forces advanced into Anding, where Yangzhou surrendered. Cao Cao then withdrew his main army, entrusting Xiahou Yuan with the task of continuing the western campaign. Over the next 2 years, under Xiahou Yuan's command, Cao Cao's forces relentlessly pursued Ma Chao, crushed Han Sui, extinguished Song Jian, swept across the Chang and Di tribes, and exerted their dominance over the region of Guangzhou. This series of campaigns essentially stabilized the region of Liangzhou, securing Cao Cao's hold on this strategically important frontier area. The events in Guangzhou were a testament to Cao Cao's military acumen and his adeptness at both war and strategy. His ability to delegate effectively to capable subordinates like Xiahou Yuan was crucial in his consolidation of power. With the northwest secured, Cao Cao's position in the north of China was more secure than ever, setting the stage for his future campaigns and his continuing efforts to reunify the fractured Han Empire under his rule. Proclaimed king. Back in the 11th year of the Jianan period, or 206 CE, Cao Cao began the process of abolishing some of the hereditary feudal states of the imperial clan to weaken the Han dynasty's authority. However, in a display of gratitude towards King Lu Rong of Langia, whose brother Lu Miao had once praised Cao Cao for his loyalty, Cao Cao reinstated Lu Rong's son, Lu Shi, as the king of Langia. In the 17th year of Jianan, 212 CE, Emperor Skin of Han granted Cao Cao special privileges that were historically unprecedented for anyone of his rank. He was allowed to enter the court without hurrying his steps, a mark of respect usually reserved for the emperor, and ascend the steps of the palace wearing a sword in his ceremonial shoes. This privilege was reminiscent of the honors once bestowed upon Xiao He, who served as chancellor under the founder of the Han dynasty. The recommendation of Cao Cao as Duke of Wei by Dong Zhao and others marked a significant shift in the balance of power during the late Eastern Han dynasty. Sun Yu, who was a staunch loyalist to the Han dynasty, opposed this elevation, arguing that it was a betrayal of the Han imperial family. Cao Cao assured Sun Yu that he would never accept the title of Duke of Wei, but his displeasure with Sun Yu for the opposition was evident. Subsequently, Cao Cao removed Sun Yu from his position as prefect of the Masters of Writing, using his military appointment as a pretext. Sun Yu was escorted by General Fu Bo Xiaodan, ostensibly to join Cao Cao at the military camp. However, Sun Yu's journey was halted at Xiao County, where Xiaodan left him to return to the capital. It was there that Sun Yu met his end, allegedly at the hands of Lu Xiao, who was acting on orders from Cao Cao. Following these events, Cao Cao mobilized an army claimed to number 400,000 and personally led a southern campaign against Sun Quan. This military move was a critical step in Cao Cao's expansion of power, indicating his strategic intent to extend his control to the southern territories and consolidate his dominance over China. 213 AD, where the first month saw the unfolding of military stratagems that would ripple through the annals of history. The Cao troops, under the command of none other than Cao Cao himself, embarked on a formidable campaign towards Ruxiku, present-day southeast of Chaohu in Anhui province. In a decisive move, Cao Cao's forces breached the encampments of Sun Quan, the ruler of the Eastern Wu, established on the northern banks of the Yangtze River. The confrontation was intense and pivotal. The Cao army even managed to capture and execute Sun Quan's young general, Gong Sunyang, sending ripples of both shock and dismay through the ranks of Eastern Wu. In response to this bold encroachment, Sun Quan himself led an army of 70,000 to Ruxiku to confront the invaders. What unfolded was a standoff that lasted for more than a month, a testament to the deadlock of two formidable foes, neither able to secure a decisive victory. As the days passed, Cao Cao observed the rigorous discipline and formidable preparation of Sun Quan's forces. Realizing that a victory was out of reach against such a well-arrayed opponent, he made the strategic decision to retreat to the north. The third day of the 5th month of Jianan 18, which corresponds to June 16th in the Gregorian calendar. On this day, Emperor Xian of Han issued an imperial edict that would elevate Cao Cao's standing to unprecedented heights. He was formally ennobled as the Duke of Wei, a title accompanied by the prestigious 9 bestowments. This honor traditionally signified immense trust and favor from the emperor, marking Cao Cao not just as a vassal but as a figure of immense power and influence within the empire. Yet, this was not a mere ceremonial title. Along with the grandeur of his new status, Cao Cao was granted control over a vast territory that encompassed 10 commanderies, including Wei, Hedong, and Henei. This endowment was extraordinary, surpassing the scale of land typically granted to even the imperial clansmen of the Western Han Dynasty. It marked a clear departure from the established Han protocols, which, since the upheaval of the Rebellion of the Seven States, dictated that no vassal kingdom should extend beyond the limits of a single commandery. The echoes of this shift in power resonated just a year later. On the 30th day of the 3rd month of Jianan 19, corresponding to March 30th, 214 AD, Emperor Xian decreed that Cao Cao's position as the Duke of Wei would outrank all other feudal lords. He was presented with a golden seal and a ribbon of red, symbols of his paramountcy, along with the ceremonial accoutrements befitting his elevated rank, the coronet of distant journeys. In the shadowy corners of the palace, a plot simmered in secrecy, a story of intrigue that would end in tragedy. Several years before our last account, Empress Fu, the wife of Emperor Xian, penned a covert letter to her father, Fu Wan. The message was laden with a dire request to orchestrate the downfall of Cao Cao. Yet, bound by fear or perhaps loyalty, Fu Wan carried this dangerous secret to his grave, never daring to strike. However, palace walls have ears, and secrets as perilous as these rarely stay hidden for long. When the conspiracy finally came to light, Cao Cao acted with swift and ruthless precision. He ordered the imperial censor, Shi Lu, and the minister over the masses, Hua Xian, to lead troops into the palace and arrest the empress. Empress Fu, desperate to evade capture, found herself ensconced within the crevices of the palace walls. But her hiding place would not remain secret for long. Zhao De, an official charged with palace discipline, led the emperor's guards to her. They shattered the walls and seized the empress, confining her to a cell within the Yeding Palace's most feared chamber, where she met her grim fate, alone and forsaken. The tragedy that befell Empress Fu did not end with her. Her 2 sons, innocent and young, met their demise through poisoned wine, a cruel and customary practice to eliminate those who might one day seek vengeance or claim the throne. And the repercussions rippled through her clan. Over 100 of her relatives, starting with the Marquis Fu Long, were executed. Amidst this grim reckoning, a new chapter began for Cao Cao's daughter, Cao Jie. She ascended to the position her predecessor had fallen from, becoming the new empress. 215 AD. Cao Cao set his sights on the strategic stronghold of Hanzhong. Zhang Lu, the governor of Hanzhong, weighed his options and, seeing the formidable might of Cao Cao's approaching forces, chose to surrender rather than face the inevitable destruction that resistance would bring. Upon accepting Zhang Lu's surrender, Cao Cao not only gained control of the Hanzhong territory, but also secured a critical position that could serve as a springboard for further expansion to the south. However, news of this conquest reached the ears of Liu Bei, who, understanding the implications of Cao Cao's southward gaze, promptly negotiated a division of Jingzhou with Sun Quan, using the Xiang River as a boundary. With an eye towards self-preservation and strategic consolidation, Liu Bei returned his forces to Yizhou, a move that would prove to be prudent. It was during this time that Cao Cao, perhaps exhibiting a rare lapse in his otherwise acute strategic foresight, did not take the advice of his advisor Liu Yi. Li had counseled him to take advantage of the momentary instability of Liu Bei's position and strike swiftly to capture Yizhou. Instead, Cao Cao withdrew his troops and returned to the capital, a decision that would leave the door open for Liu Bei to establish and strengthen his position in Sichuan. In the same year, the political acumen of Cao Cao was once again on display as he acquired the nominal authority to distribute fiefs among the vassal lords and to appoint governors. This power further cemented his control over the empire, allowing him to govern with an authority that was nearly imperial in all but name. In April of the 21st year of Jianan, 216, Cao Cao, a name already etched into the annals of history for his military genius and political savvy, received an honor that broke the ancient covenant set by the founder of the Han Dynasty. He was ennobled as the King of Wei. In the same breath, he declared Cao Pai, his son, as his heir. This act openly contravened the Pact of the White Horse, which decreed that none outside the Liu family should claim kingship, lest they face the united opposition of the realm. The same year, demonstrating the extent of his power and his departure from old allegiances, Cao Cao ordered the execution of Liu Shi, the king of Langyi, who harbored intentions of defecting to Sun Quan. With a stroke of the pen, the kingdom of Langyi was dissolved, its royal line extinguished. The following year, 217, Cao Cao's ambitions seemed to know no bounds. He adopted imperial regalia and ceremony to a degree that blurred the lines between regent and emperor. His entourage bore the emperor's flags, he donned the emperor's diadem, and wherever he went, he was announced with the imperial processions, Jingbuli, the warning drums and bells. He even went so far as to construct the Pan Palace, an imperial institution for scholarly debates and examinations. In October, further tokens of imperium were heaped upon him. Crowns befitting a king were bestowed upon him and his line, sashes of vibrant hues, a chariot with golden axles, and a six-horse team, with secondary chariots reserved for the 5 daily appointments. In name, he remained a subject of the Han. In practice, his power was indistinguishable from that of the emperor himself. He commanded the court and the country with an authority that eclipsed the waning Han Dynasty, which now existed in little more than name. Cao Cao continued to tighten his grip on power and expand his military reach. He appointed Xiahou Yuan as the general who conquers the west and Cao Ren as the general who conquers the south, casting his eyes covetously towards the lands of Jing and Shu. Advance eastward and retreat westward. In the pivotal year of 215, the stage of ancient China is marked by the echoes of clashing swords and the ambitions of its greatest warlords. It is a time of both strategy and betrayal, where Cao Cao, a figure whose name is synonymous with power and cunning, sought to exact vengeance on Sun Quan for the attack on Wan City. As the tides of war turned, Cao Cao swiftly assembled his troops for an assault on Wu. But as the threads of fate would have it, this campaign would end not with the glory of victory, but with the sting of defeat. It's a stark reminder that even the mightiest can falter, a lesson written in the sands of ancient battlefields. Meanwhile, Sun Quan, unyielding and resolute, led an army claimed to be 100,000 strong toward Hefei. This was a direct challenge to Cao Cao's recent conquest of Hanzhong, a testament to the ongoing struggle for dominance. With Cao Cao unable to take to the field, the responsibility of defense fell upon the shoulders of the stalwart generals Zhang Liao, Eugene, and Li Dian. Through their valor, the siege was broken, and Sun Quan's forces were compelled to withdraw, unable to seize the fortress. The following year, 216, presents a different kind of battlefield for Cao Cao, the political arena. By detaining the southern Xiongnu leader, He Chuquan, he displays a stroke of political acumen that reshapes the tribal dynamics of the region. Cao Cao appoints the right sage king, Yu Bai, to govern, and ingeniously divides the southern Xiongnu into 5 distinct parts, scattering them across the territories of Shuafang, Bingzhou, and Yuzhou. Within this fragmentation lies a notable figure, Liu Bao, father to the man who would found the Han Zhao regime, Liu Yuan. The year 216's winter winds whispered of war as Cao Cao once again marshaled his forces, this time setting his sights on the strategic Ruxaport. The opening moves of 217 saw Cao Cao's armies pressing forward, compelling Sun Quan, who was fortifying a new stronghold at Ruxu, into a defensive stance. But this was a contest between titans, and Sun Quan was not one to yield so easily. With a counteroffensive that carried the force of a tempest, Sun Quan pushed Cao Cao's forces back to Wancheng, resulting in a deadlock. Nature itself seemed to conspire against the combatants as continuous heavy rains raised the waters, playing into the hands of Sun Quan's navy. This waterborne threat unsettled the Wei troops, and with victory over Sun Quan out of reach, and the formidable Yangtze River barring the way, Cao Cao recognized the bleakness of his position. His command to retreat echoed amidst the turmoil, a move marred by tragedy as his retreating army was ravaged by epidemic, suffering heavy casualties. The aftermath of battle can often twist the paths of fate in unexpected ways. Sun Quan, seeking to cement his position and perhaps to bring a semblance of peace, dispatched the commandant Su Sheng with a proposal of alliance by marriage to the Han court. Cao Cao, on receiving Su Sheng, expressed a seemingly benign wish to cross the Yangtze and join Sun Quan in a hunt in the eastern territories. But Su Sheng, perceptive of the underlying ripples such a move could cause, tactfully declined this veiled intent to traverse the natural bulwark of the Yangtze. Cao Cao's response was to laugh heartily, a sound that perhaps echoed with the complexity of these political games. He accepted Sun Quan's surrender and the marriage alliance, a decision sealing not just a union of families but the fate of empires. As the curtains of 217 drew to a close, Liu Bei, the Lord of Shu and a key player in the Three Kingdoms saga, began an audacious campaign. His target, Hanzhong, specifically the strategic gateway of Yangping Pass. Thus, the battle for Hanzhong erupted, marking another fierce chapter in this era's relentless wars. By July of 218, Cao Cao himself took command, positioning his base in Chang'an. The theater of war was not just limited to Hanzhong, it flared up along the frontiers. Cao Zhang and Tian Yu took to the northern expeditions, shattering the allied forces of the Wuhuan and Shenbei tribes. In the wake of their victories, the leader Kubinung pledged allegiance to Wei, swelling Cao Cao's ranks. The defense of Hanzhong was entrusted to Xiahou Yuan, who stood against Liu Bei in a tense standoff that lasted a year. The Wei commanders, Xiahou Yuan, Zhang He, and Su Huang, were stalwarts in their own right, repelling the ferocious onslaughts of Liu Bei's forces time and again. As the dawn of 219 graced the turbulent lands of China, Liu Bei, with the mantle of a ruler and the heart of a warrior, led his army alongside the venerable general Huang Zhong. In a decisive movement, they converged upon Dingjun Mountain, where the battle crescendoed in a moment that would reverberate through the annals of history, the slaying of Xiahou Yuan, the general who conquers the West. With Xiahou Yuan's fall, Hanzhong came under Liu Bei's control, a significant victory that would tip the scales in the power balance of the Three Kingdoms. Cao Cao, refusing to accept this loss, rode out in March with the might of his armies to reclaim what was lost. He summoned an additional force of 200,000 soldiers under Cao Zhang, pulled from their stations in the north. Yet, every attempt, every engagement led by Cao Cao met with defeat at Liu Bei's hands, forcing the Wei troops to withdraw without any mark of success. Liu Bei then dispatched a relentless offensive with generals Lu Feng, Wang Zhang, and Zhao Yun, who harried the Wei forces day and night. By May, the unyielding pressure and perhaps the toll of the campaign itself compelled Cao Cao to retreat to Chang'an, his health waning. In a continuous stroke of strategic brilliance, Liu Bei captured Fangeling and tasked Lu Feng with navigating the Mian waterways to seize Upper Yao. It is said that this series of events gave birth to the proverb of chicken ribs, emblematic of a situation possessing little value, much effort for little reward, mirroring Cao Cao's fruitless campaigns for Hanzhong. The decisive Battle of Xiangfan. In the sweltering heat of July 219, amidst the ebbing tides of war, Liu Bei took a momentous step. He proclaimed himself the King of Hanzhong, striking a blow for legitimacy in the eyes of his followers and rivals alike. His brother-in-arms, the legendary Guan Yu, was elevated to the rank of General of the Vanguard, a title befitting his martial prowess. Guan Yu then marshaled the forces of Jingzhou, embarking on a bold northern campaign against Xiangfan, laying siege to the remaining Wei forces led by Cao Ren and Manchong in the formidable Fancheng. This engagement would be chronicled as the Battle of Fancheng, a clash that would test the mettle of all who took part. Cao Cao, determined to break the siege, sent the left general Eugene to relieve his beleaguered generals. However, nature's wrath unleashed a deluge upon the Han River, engulfing Eugene's 7 armies. Seizing this watery chaos, Guan Yu's navy struck hard, capturing Eugene. In the turmoil, Eugene surrendered, while the valiant Pang De, captured, chose death over dishonor at the hands of the enemy. Simultaneously, Guan Yu's forces encircled Xiangyang, striking fear into the heart of the land. For a time, the might of Guan Yu resonated across the breadth of China. Whispered rumors told that many insurrections under Cao Cao's rule were orchestrated from afar by Guan Yu's own hand, hinting at the reach and influence of the red-faced warrior. In October of that same year, as the chill of autumn set upon the lands, Cao Cao contemplated a momentous shift, a move of the capital to Luoyang to evade the sharp edge of Guan Yu's ever-expanding power. However, his council, men of wisdom and foresight like Huan Jie, Sima Yi, and Jiang Ji, dissuaded him, suggesting that Sun Quan of Wu would not idly watch Guan Yu's power grow unchecked. Their predictions proved accurate. Sun Quan, sensing the opportune moment to strike, offered to attack Guan Yu's rear, aiming to disrupt the balance of power that Guan Yu had worked so meticulously to establish. Cao Cao, seizing this pivotal opportunity to form a tactical alliance, summoned his formidable generals, Zhang Liao, who had been holding the fort at Hefei against Sun Quan, and Su Huang, who had been watching over the situation in Hanzhong and the Bashu region. Furthermore, Cao Cao himself did not stand idle. From Luoyang, he led an army towards Fancheng, determined to break the siege and to rescue his encircled generals. Amidst the cacophony of war, Cao Cao, in a masterstroke of psychological warfare, dispatched the news of Sun Quan's stealthy assault on Jingzhou with arrows shot into the encampments of Guan Yu and the besieged General Cao Ren at Fancheng. This stroke rekindled the spirits of the Wei troops, and the tide began to turn as Guan Yu found himself caught between the hammer and the anvil. The first to reach the beleaguered city was the army of Su Huang. Taking advantage of the receding floodwaters, they launched a fierce assault on Guan Yu's forces, laying siege to the siege itself. Cao Ren, seizing the moment of confusion and buoyed by the arrival of reinforcements, broke through the encirclement, joining forces with Su Huang to drive back Guan Yu. By December, the tables had turned disastrously for the once formidable Guan Yu. Retreating south, he was captured by Sun Quan's forces, who had swiftly taken Jiangling. The fate that befell him was both swift and final execution. In a gesture of respect for a worthy adversary, Sun Quan sent Guan Yu's head to Luoyang, where Cao Cao buried it with the honors due to a prince. Thus ended the Battle of Fancheng, closing a chapter in the blood-stained annals of the Three Kingdoms. In the wake of Sun Quan's decisive actions, the capture and execution of Guan Yu, and the annexation of Jingzhou, Cao Cao recognized Sun Quan's prowess and rewarded him with prestigious titles: General who displays might and Governor of Jingzhou. Following this, Sun Quan sent emissaries bearing tribute, submitting himself as a vassal to Cao Cao, and even urging him to seize the mandate of heaven, to usurp the Han throne and proclaim himself emperor of a new dynasty, Wei. Cao Cao, a man as shrewd in court as he was on the battlefield, showcased Sun Quan's letter to his courtiers and advisors. Prominent figures like Qin Kun, Xiahou Dun, and Sima Yi counseled him to take the imperial title. Yet, Cao Cao harbored a different ambition, or perhaps a different sense of destiny. He declined to overthrow the Han dynasty, famously remarking, "If heaven's mandate is truly with me, then I shall be as king one of Shou," preferring the role of a regent or kingmaker, akin to the revered founder of the Zhou dynasty, rather than an emperor. In the 24th year of Jianan 220 AD, as Cao Cao lay gravely ill, burdened by sickness beyond recovery, his thoughts turned to his beloved eldest son, Chaoang, who had perished in the turmoil of war. In a moment of profound introspection, he voiced a deep lament that cut through the silence of his chamber. "Throughout my endeavors, my conscience has been clear. Never once have I felt a sense of betrayal towards my intentions. But if in death there is awareness, and if Chaoang should inquire of me the whereabouts of his mother, Lady Ding, what words shall I have to answer him?" On the 23rd day of the first month of the 25th year of Jianan, a Gingzi day, March 15th, 220 AD, Cao Cao succumbed to a stroke and passed away in Luoyang at the age of 66. He was posthumously titled King Wu. Before his death, Cao Cao left behind a testament advocating for simple funeral rites. On the 21st day of the second month, a Dingmao day, April 11th, 220 AD, he was laid to rest in Jialing, located in the western suburbs of Yi City, not far from the Temple of Shimenbao. After the passing of Cao Cao, his heir apparent, Cao Pai, succeeded him as the King of Wei, the Prime Minister, and the Governor of Ji Province. Soon after, other prominent figures such as Xiahou Dun and Cheng Yu also passed away. In the 10th month on the 29th day, December 11th, 220 AD, Cao Pai forced Emperor Xian of Han to abdicate in his favor, thus establishing the state of Cao Wei with the era name Huachu and setting the capital at Luoyang. Emperor Xian was ennobled as the Duke of Shenyang, and Cao Cao was posthumously honored as Emperor Wu, the great ancestor. And that, dear listeners, concludes the saga of Cao Cao, a pivotal figure whose life story is etched in the annals of history. As we reflect on the legacy left by the King Wu, it's fascinating to ponder how the ripples of his choices and the era he shaped continue to resonate through time. I invite you to share your thoughts on this historical narrative. Were there moments that surprised you, or perhaps aspects of Cao Cao's life that you see reflected in the modern world? Drop a comment below to engage in the conversation, and if you enjoyed this journey through history, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the past. Let's see you again in the next chapter of Chinese history. If you have a hero you want to know about, you can tell me. Goodbye.